I mean, like, okay,
clarifying.
even coming here, I was just, or before this, like a couple days ago, I'm like, how am I gonna start myself off? I actually use ChatGPT for me.
Yeah.
I am like, so and I'm just like, okay, that's good, like whatever. Just made some notes ahead of time,
I go into every
so it's so funny.
recording having this paranoid fear that I'm not going to know what to say.
Yeah, well, yeah, same.
Yeah.
On both, and it got worse coming here. I'm like, oh god,
I
I should have taken it easy on the
He
coffee today, and I said I wanted
he
another
doesn't
coffee
care.
or
He
something.
says every time, "Oh, look, they're just normal people. We just want to talk to them, right?"
Yeah.
I know.
You do this all the time, though.
I know. We pump out a lot of content.
But you're on the
And-
other side normally, right? Like
Normally,
you're
yeah.
asking the questions
Yeah.
normally. So this is,
Yeah.
I've been the odd guest
yeah.
as well, but
This will
Well,
get to
it's-
know who you really are, though.
yeah,
We're going to dive deep.
Yeah, we.
Did I tell you that Tim makes people cry? Did I tell
Yeah,
you?
and I was.
Okay.
I'm like,
I don't
I've been
try
talking to a few
but I like
people.
the personal questions. And they tend to make people cry.
Get your earballs ready. Welcome to the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Take time to sit back and relax and enjoy the show. Here are your hosts, Greg and Tim.
Anyway, welcome back to another episode of the Greg and Tim Show. Today we're diving deep into the world of marketing, entrepreneurship, and all things unapologetically Canadian.
Unapologetically.
Unapologetically with a
Unapol-
Canadian who wears
We're not going to say sorry?
a lot of hats,
Sorry.
literally and
A few.
figuratively. Sorry,
Hey, and sorry. Yeah.
Our special guest is Stephen Maxted, the mastermind behind A Podcast, Type A Shop, and A Marketing
I think
Company.
there's a like a theme there.
Yeah, it's like EHA.
A.
Yeah, that's right.
A.
Whether he's amplifying Canadian voices through his podcast, crafting bold and witty merch, or shaking up the marketing game with fresh ideas, Stephen is all about building brands with personality. So grab a Tim's or McDonald's.
I have water.
or a Starbucks.
I have water. You got coffee?
I do
Black?
coffee. Yeah.
Black coffee?
Yeah.
What
Black.
did you go with?
I got the Zevia,
the Zevia.
the ginger.
That
something
sounds
Zevia.
like a disease. He's got the
Sounds something
Zevia.
that's like illegal.
No, it's flaring. It
Are
was
you sure?
it was flaring up earlier this week, and so it settled
You're
down.
using
a
the
little
cream that
bit.
your doctor gave you.
I got it
Sometimes you have
yesterday.
to,
I haven't started using it. We'll see. I think I got to wait 24 hours. So let's get comfy and jump into it.
To
Steven,
use it? Okay.
I'm almost done to the end. You're interrupted. Stephen Maxted, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Awesome, Greg, Tim. Thank you guys for having me on.
So this is the show. We're just
Yeah.
gonna hang out. We're gonna chat about things. I interrupt Tim. Tim asks questions that are tough, and then we go from there.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with the question we ask every one of our guests first?
Every guest.
Every single one of
And if you just watch one of our podcasts on the way here, you know what that question is.
warmed up to it? Oh, act surprised.
Yeah.
who is Stephen Maxted?
Yeah, it's a.
Are we pronouncing it properly?
Yeah, you nailed it. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's a good question because I think some people paint me in a lot of different categories because some people get confused about what I even do for work nowadays. I've moved hats a few times, sometimes by choice, sometimes not by my choice in my own career in corporate America, through mergers and stuff, and that can be part of the chat today. But I mean, I'm a pretty active guy. There's always got to be something. I'm like a cattle dog. If you don't get like walked or worked out in the morning, I can be just kind of shaky and very type A, as the pun would evolve.
Nice.
Yeah, and I run a couple companies. Very entrepreneurial and always looking to give back to community. I know a lot of people say that as kind of like a tag thing, but it's literally ingrained in everything that we do. Whether it's with the triathlon team, Team Gobert, that we raise money for Saint Amant, or along with the marketing company where we actually offer services for free for a couple different foundations across Canada. Yeah, it's just a really important thing, I think, to give back all the time. So however we can do that is number one.
So you're everywhere.
I guess so.
You're like dabbling here, dabble there, get a little bit there.
The many hats thing resonated
Yeah.
with me a lot. Yeah, and then with the podcast, I mean, it started off as a project, and I mean, you guys are now well on your way past many statistics of success, so to say, in the 1% of podcasting. But when I got started,
Wow.
it's true. Well, there was this one line, and I've said it, a few times, but it's like maybe it's changed too. 90% of podcasts don't make it past 3 episodes. The 10% that do only make 21. That's after I had made 9 episodes, and I heard that on some little short online.
Yeah.
I was like, well, we got to make 22. It was just like ingrained in me. I'm like, okay, we have to make 22. But
Yeah.
how it really started was just an experiment to learn how to do podcasting so we could help other companies do it
Okay.
and have success with that. And then we kind of got rolling. And then after the 22 hit, people started asking to be on. And I was like, okay, well, maybe we're on to something then. The next goal was to do 50. And now every season we try to at least accomplish 50. This season might be a little different, but it's to help get out local business, energy right there. I think a lot of folks should have podcasts. Something I'm very passionate about, especially in the tech space locally here, or in smaller markets where you have to kind of go viral without having to do goofy TikToks and stuff. If investors are looking at you or other things that like
Tim doesn't like doing them anyway.
No, it's not that I don't like doing them. I just don't know how to do them.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a lot of where you got to be on trend.
He can do the goofy part. He doesn't know how to do the TikTok part.
How do you save this?
How does the filter work? Yeah.
This piece of glass has lights on it.
So yeah, that's kind of what.
How many
all about,
podcasts
so.
have you done now? What's your number?
That's funny. Sorry. I'm a child. No, I think we're at like 120 maybe. We might even be like past that. Like
Wow.
I think we were like released 111 tomorrow being a Tuesday. We started moving on Tuesdays now and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're at like 112 online right now, and then
You've
kind of
got a whole bunch in the
maybe it's
can.
more than that. We're like booked into like June or July this year.
Wow.
That's
Now,
impressive.
already. I don't know when this will get released, but yeah, we're booked or it's like already recorded ahead of time for that. So
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
of the guests that you've had whatever 120, 300, whatever it is.
yeah.
The subject matter that you've really gravitated. If you could talk about one thing with one expert,
Yeah.
what subject would that be? What's kind of been your favorite subject?
Well, it's kind of been a blend of what I do and what I'm passionate about in terms of like both the athletics and in business. So, I mean, a good chunk of it has been local businesses or businesses that are led by leaders from locally here in Manitoba. A lot of folks don't maybe realize that all the time. When I've had some companies on, those are CEOs from Winnipeg originally.
Yep.
They've left and now they're running companies in other parts of the States, whether it be San Diego, Texas, or areas of Florida. I'm just trying to think of other folks. And some of them are actually just from other spots and we've networked or met online and then we've had them on too. I think it's always great to have cross marketing.
I hear meeting
opportunities.
online is dangerous sometimes.
Oh yeah. We'll talk about it. Yeah.
We may or may not talk about it.
No,
There you
we'll
go.
get into it.
Back in the
eventually.
day, your mom always said, don't meet people online.
Well,
Steven's making a business out of it.
Yeah. No, it definitely is true. So it's kind of a blend of those things, and that just makes it easier to talk about. And I mean, I'm not an expert in all those areas. It actually, and you guys are probably experienced this too. You get to learn so much from people, and little chats, before and after are super beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then some of those folks we end up working with either before or after. It's sometimes it rolls that way for us. And now we're too far in. I said this to my team the other day. I'm like, well, we can't stop now. Not that we were even thinking about it, but I'm like, we just got to keep rolling and improving and doing, learning the craft better.
So
over
we
time,
have really no team. So describe the members of your team so that
Describe
we
what it's
can
like
know and
to
gain
have a
that
team.
team.
Oh, 100%. Well, it's the same. Yeah, when we do
And which one of your team members wants to join the Greg and Tim show?
wow, we could certainly chat about it. My team's pretty sweet. They're across Canada, and then we do actually have someone stateside that works with us too.
Okay.
So maybe a light shout out, but we were able to hire and scale the way that we did early on with very limited hours through a company out of Calgary called Virtual Gurus. I've used them a few times in different roles and stuff. So you're able to fractionally hire different areas of I guess niches within there.
Yeah.
So I mean, in terms of like the brand, I was able to hire and find someone through them that used to work at Shopify. I always say Spotify when I'm thinking that one. I would be like,
Yeah,
no,
but I know what
Shopify.
you're talking about.
Yeah, so like we were able to hire Charlotte from with 5 years experience. She helps manage the online store with us now. Does amazing work. It jumps on, helps me run that company. In fact, she leads most of it now online.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we have should I go name by name? List
no,
off my
but,
team, but we have video editor and someone a couple people that just schedule content both for our own podcast and for other podcasts.
Do you have
or
a technical
companies.
producer that's there when you're setting up
No, you're looking.
or
at
do you
them.
just do your
Yeah.
own technical stuff? So you
I am
record the
sight
whole thing
unseen.
and then you send it out.
Yeah, actually, mostly now I show up for the episode. Besides maybe some communication with a guest at a time.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, show up. The team sent emails, links, and then we record through some softwares there, and then the team has it. They create shorts and edit anything we need to add in or take out on the long form, and then we're off to the races. And I think that's one of the challenges with making a podcast nowadays. And quite literally, you guys are experiencing this probably too, but clients we talk with, it's they have a marketing team and stuff. But then they're like, we want to do this podcast thing, even if it's a short season or whatever it may be to help enhance their brand. I think it's one of the best ways because you get to hear it right from the horse's mouth. There's so much AI, fake stuff, TikTok, whatever. I mean, that's still you're getting to kind of know someone on their creativity, but the more you can actually hear it from someone specifically speak about that, it's one of the hardest things too when someone has a really great idea. It's a thing we come across with some of our marketing clients.
Yeah.
Geniuses. can't talk or present to save their life initially, whatever. It's like, but it's like they have such a brilliant idea. And a couple of clients we still have this day, we helped get their message.
I thought he's look at me, but
I don't know what he did give that look. Yeah. So, but
I can see it in the post anyway. So.
But there's, you come across that like a lot. And I think the more comfortable people can get going on here. I mean, you look back to an early episode of ours, and I'm not an expert. I spent, a better half or, more than a decade in agriculture, presenting to farmers in fields and in shops and stuff like that. It's part of my work history before I kind of got on my own and got very comfortable with that. But, getting comfy in front of a mic and a camera is actually a little bit more different, and it's more intense.
Yeah.
I often don't watch our episodes. I'll watch like the first few minutes of it just to make
Neither
sure
does
it went
Tim.
on.
So
Yeah.
No,
I just like
I do watch our episodes, but I don't like to. But I will.
Mhm.
I do not like hearing the sound of my own voice.
I think he watches them because I have to watch them to edit them.
right.
So he feels like he
Well,
has to watch them
Yeah.
after the fact.
So
Yeah.
I don't have to watch them,
You should.
but I don't have to. I learned something new today.
He wants you to.
Yeah.
He wants you to want to.
Yeah.
Well, I guess there's
Either way. So you're recording podcasts, you're doing your merch, you're doing marketing. What's taking up the most amount of time right now?
Well, that is a good question. I don't know. It's just
You're like, I don't do anything really.
no. Well,
I have a whole team that does it.
The team helps out with so much, but it's like there's kind of we record the podcast usually on Wednesday afternoons. I kind of have just like time blocks for other things,
Okay.
and I try to leave at least one day of the week to catch up on the stuff that doesn't get done in
Yeah.
other parts today. I still can't get away from the mentality of like a 9 to 5 role.
Yeah.
In that sense, but I've kind of changed my schedule. Like I train first thing in the mornings for triathlons. I swim 3 times a week. I bike people that are here and it's like, oh, Steve, we get it. You ride a bike and you swim and you whatever. But I do that.
Hey, there's some people that watch that don't know. So
Pretty religiously. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
like my routine is like that. So swim and bike in the mornings, later in the day is another training thing. And having had experience burnout before, I now don't start my day till about 10 a.m. I think that may surprise some folks to know that I'm like, it
Yeah.
could seem as being like lazy in the mornings, but
like you don't start your workouts till 10 a.m.?
oh no, so my work day. Like
Oh,
I'm up at
okay.
like 6, but
Okay.
and that's
So at
like an
6
auto
you're
alarm
doing-
clock. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
up, I'm heading the pool, walking the dog, and then whatever it is after that. And winter
Yeah.
and summer kind of change a little bit in terms of being outside and
Yeah.
what other kind of biking we do. And then it's just meetings a lot of the day. I'd say that takes up a lot of the time. Networking.
Yeah.
It's like a good chunk of my time. Outside of that, we use a lot of softwares to help us be efficient. Like each of the folks on my team, I think that they all agree. We talk about it a lot, but in terms of using and utilizing AI nowadays, it's just like, hey, what other tool can we use to help your performance go
Yeah.
up? It's like not to take away your role. And Jeff, I think initially panicked, my video editing guy. He's like, oh my God, am I like what? I'm like, Jeff, you're going to be able to do like 3x the work, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like you're not going anywhere.
This is a tool.
yeah. And
This
it's
is like getting a power tool when you
Yes.
used to use a hammer.
totally. Yeah.
Right?
And he's just like, he's got the drill bits switch automatically now. It's insane.
Yeah,
So he can just
exactly.
like, he's got both hands rolling. I talk to him almost every day.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. So we do utilize stuff like that. And then just like trying to find ways to help companies. As I said, like we do offer our services in a couple cases too. I want to open that up and be like for everyone, but a couple unique cases we met along the way. We take on a
Yeah.
couple projects every year to try to help.
Pro bono.
Yeah.
Like the
100%.
Greg and Tim show.
Yeah. Hey, let's chat, however we can. And then it's just finding out ways, that we can help work with folks. This sales cycle for, what we do on the fractional marketing side or the podcast side can take quite some time for folks to warm up to that idea or to figure out, how are we going to shoot a season and stuff. And I'm not an expert in that. I just don't really give up that easy. So, I mean, like, one of my first jobs was like cutting grass and, that just kind of took off. By the time I was like 15, I was running like a landscape company. And that kind of mentality has just followed me through everything work-wise. So not great. I'll just outwork you.
Yeah.
Basically. So that's,
So you have a podcast. For how long have you done the podcast?
it's funny. I made an LED sign that says 2022, but I think we actually started in 23. So on my wall, it says 22, but 22 or 23. I couldn't quite figure out.
So you
what
do
year.
podcasts, you do marketing
Yeah.
for other podcasts / other businesses, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
And then you also have a clothing company, is that correct?
Yeah. It's a brand. It started off actually as a rental company. So if you want
A
to
rental company?
yeah, we had it's actually legally called Type A Bikes Inc.
Okay.
Yeah, this is,
Because you're really into bikes too.
I am, yeah. And this
Yeah.
is kind of where I had it on my list of stuff to do before I'm 80, is
Okay.
to have a bike company. And I came back from, I was in Costa Rica for a month, and then COVID, or the big flu, was kind of kicking off.
We call it the thing we don't talk about.
Sure, yeah, I'm down with that too. There's so I get back, the world's kind of shutting down, and I had already lined up a contract to go do this other job, but I was like planning to go travel for 5 months, and then I get back and it's just like brakes halted, all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, let's kind of actually look at the list. This is not metaphor. It's like on my phone, stuff I want to do before I'm 80.
Yeah.
And then one of them was like a bike company, and I'm like, okay, well, we're kind of, at the time I was like buying and selling stuff from like AliExpress or whatever. I guess it's Alibaba at the time, and I was selling on Marketplace like bike lights and stuff. Make like, I don't know, a couple grand a year maybe doing that. And then I have a bunch of stuff that I have. So it pays for my hobby in a way. And I was like, I could make this into a real thing. And then the first thought was to turn into like an online bike store or whatever. Soon realized Amazon does it just so much better, and what am I trying to do? And then I'm like, maybe like a retail space. No, that's not a good idea. How can we help people be active and get outside easy? And so yeah, I bought like this like fleet of bikes from China, fat bikes, and then that was a whole thing. Would not recommend actually doing that. Again, it was a good learning. I'll say that. You're always learning something. You're not really failing unless you stop. But then we got into like kayaks, these things called kick sleds, which are from Finland. I think I'm like the biggest owner of kick sleds still right now, and probably
In your garage?
Yeah, storage.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
but there's like 20 of them. Yeah, and it's like snowshoes. We just got into all this stuff, and we didn't really promote it a whole lot, but we got a lot of people outside being active ultimately.
Right. Yeah.
And that was kind of the mission of the company, and still is to this day. Like when I think about Type A now, the brand, starting off as this bike company or whatever, but we still want to try to be involved in, getting out there and being active in a sense and promoting that. I think that is just so important. One of, my foundations would be like, health is wealth, and truly living that as much as I can. And I still like to go and have fun. So some balance between the two,
So one of the things that you did then was you pivoted to clothing.
Yeah.
Right.
So I still had, this is going to get a little complex. We might need a whiteboard
just right on the wall.
Basically, yeah. Basically,
about it.
we might as well. Yeah, I should have a little iPad just drawing this out. But I was still working.
They have like the math from Good Will Hunting all back here now.
Yeah, can you solve it?
Yeah.
Get in here.
I don't know.
What's the guy from The Hangover when he's doing
Alan
card
Gardner?
counting in his head? All the math is. I got that going on right above you right now. So
Yeah, that is, well, my friends would agree. It's more of an experience.
That's classic.
So there's their words, not mine. But so I was still working a day job at the time while I'm running this like bike rental thing. I guess I'd done it for like 2 years, and I guess it was really like outdoor equipment and stuff. And I actually left my day job for another tech startup that we'd created. It was an app at the time, and it's since failed. It's not worth mentioning. But it fell on its face very quick after leaving the safety net of this job. So I still had the rental thing going on, but yeah, I was just like, hey, I don't want to go back to working for someone. I didn't really see the longevity because now things are open up and people actually don't want to be as active as they say they want to be.
yeah,
It was an interesting thing actually renting kayaks. Everyone was like, oh, I want to go for half a day or whatever. And we go to these, like, we dropped them off at the spot, and everyone's like, oh, 2 hours and whatever. And I'm
and it's like half an
okay.
hour later.
It would happen all the time.
Yeah,
So initially I would just like be like, no, it's like a 2 hour thing. Cause I'd already seen enough people like struggle and come back. At first it was like, oh, you just go take it out and, come back whenever, sign the waiver.
yeah.
Everyone thinks they're like fit, like they're 18. And then they go out and they're like
Oh,
often
man.
come back like an hour and a half in. So that's how you figure out that timeline. I know maybe someone listening is like, oh no, I could totally do it. And if you're in really good shape, you totally can.
Yeah,
If you don't go kayaking or biking or,
but it has to be
kicksliding,
arm shaped. Not this isn't like
Right, and back
lower
and
body
core.
and
it's like,
yeah.
yeah. But even with the biking too, like I would send people out all the time. And
And
everyone
they'd
would
be like half an hour later.
yeah, something
Oh,
like
my
that.
butt hurts.
We rented
Yeah.
kayaks in Austin, Texas, and Taylor, my wife and I had one kayak. It was 2 hours for rental.
See, yeah, they
And
do
my
their
wife
R&D
and
as
I-
well.
My wife and I had one kayak rental, and Julian and Taylor had the other. And Taylor spent the entire
Taylor's his
time
daughter, and
Okay.
Julian's
My daughter,
her boyfriend.
kayaking, actually using the paddles in the back, and her boyfriend just snapped pictures and took videos the entire 2 hours.
She must have been gassed.
She was so gassed. Anyway, I had this brain, my thought. I just remembered when you said kayak. People
Yeah.
just aren't whatever. It was pretty funny.
Well, you get all hyped to come up, and I totally get it. But it was also one of the most rewarding things I think I've done in terms of like work. wise.
right.
Like it seriously was. It was like anyone who kind of came in like with a like, why aren't we on this date or whatever?
Yeah.
And it was such a funny thing. Like I said, we had all this content, but we didn't really promote it as much because it was kind of a little faux pas. But followed all the rules. I don't know, outside.
Yeah.
Hands off on that stuff, whatever. But it was good. I think it kept a lot of people sane. I had a lot of people like repeat like weekly for a bit too. So we had some like diehard, folks on there, which was fantastic to see. It really was. But anyone who was kind of okay coming in, coming off the water or from the bike or whatever, it was always like huge smile, ear to ear. It actually was like, incredibly rewarding. Yeah.
So you have a very entrepreneurial mind. It's like, what's the next thing? And you've been that way since you were young. Who taught you as a young person to have that kind of forward thinking in that way?
So I think it was a collective. My parents are both entrepreneurial a little bit, but they both had very steady, safe roles. I put them into panic mode when I used to initially share what I was doing. They would totally agree with this too. But there was a bit of a TSN turning point in childhood, I'll say, grade 7, grade 8. The school that I went to had this thing called Space Camp. And
Space Camp.
Yes, that sounds incredibly nerdy. It was a very like popular thing at the school. And I don't know if they still do it, but so we had this thing and I brought home like the sheet, and to that point, so you're grade 7, grade 8, you're 12 years old, you're going to be 13 the next year kind of thing. So you have like a year to fundraise and raise money or whatever for this stuff. And they have a whole thing if you want to do that, or your parents can write a check.
Yeah.
And the area that we were in or grew up in and stuff like that, I mean, most of the parents wrote checks. And my parents were like, okay, we'll think about it. And it was kind of a weird response when I brought it home for dinner that night. I was like, what do you mean you think about it? Like, I don't know. Like, like I wasn't really like a snot in that sense, but I was kind of like, well, what's there to think about? Like everyone's going.
Mom and Dad.
Yeah, like what are we going to do here? Like negotiate about it? Like I'm going to go half a trip? I don't know. Like, 12-year-old me, I was a bit confused. I remember being that way.
Yeah.
And then they came back to me the next day and they're kind of like, and I was really good at actually saving money early on. I will say, like, I didn't buy toys. It was kind of like, I remember one time I did and then it like broke or something. And I'm like, no more of that. I'm going to invest this. And I was like already forward thinking, like I want to save for a vehicle. That will be cool to have a vehicle, whatever.
Right.
I'm like, so I was already doing that. And they're like, hey, here's the thing. You can go to Space Camp, but you're going to work to like pay for this thing.
At Space Camp.
Yeah. So it's, at Space Camp. I'm going to go work
So
on
you're
a
going to
shuttle.
go, but you have to be one of the counselors.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I almost was.
At Space Camp to go to Space Camp.
It seems silly, but it was like a $2,500 trip back then or something like that. Or let's say $2,000. Maybe it was like, I had to whatever. So I'm like, okay. So then they're like putting me to the test there. And basically since that day forward, and it took 2 years, I'll fast forward this a bit, but started cutting grass, doing odd jobs, whatever it was, like family, friends.
Let's go day by day.
I started with my cul-de-sac. I door knocked. Basically, it was just like, hey, can I cut your grass this summer? I got to make money. Like I had whatever.
That's how entrepreneurs start, right?
100%. Yeah. And some people, and it's interesting to look at it now because now I've been able to, in a neat way, give opportunities to some folks to hire them or write letters of recommendation if they've worked with me for running like different summer student programs when I was an adult. And like, you can see people that are working hard and you want to give them those opportunities now. And I guess people saw that in me when I was a kid, just like head down, wanted to, make the money for this trip and stuff. And so I was able to make like, actually substantially more than the trip was. But I remember spending that money and then being like, like that was a lot of work, it's still just like,
I better be a good trip.
It was okay. I wouldn't say like it was good, but
right.
I don't think it was worth that. I found out afterwards that like we paid for the like everyone's cut because some of it went to the teachers and stuff. And I was kind of a little annoyed.
They're just skimming off the top.
A little, and I get it was fair. Like,
teachers these days. Right?
Yeah. Well, that was a long lifetime ago. Like 20 years ago, but yeah.
What does that mean?
Skimming off the top.
I'm technically a teacher. I just don't teach.
Are they? What are they taking? I feel like they give
I don't know.
more than they take, honestly.
They
but
might,
I feel like they're always like out of their own, shilling out some of their own money to buy better supplies and stuff.
Most stressful. They say the second most stressful thing you could do for work.
What's the number one?
Air traffic controller.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. And then it's like dentist, vet, probably, I think,
Something
or like
like
up there. I don't know. Entrepreneurial side of things. So it's always been deep rooted since that moment on. And it was just like, hey, like, what's going to be next? I did start working for a company shortly after. I always was juggling a few jobs in high school while like playing a lot of hockey. And it's just, so it's stuck with me. Done like metal manufacturing for a bit. That was my first online store. That went pretty well until we like goofed up some cuts and then didn't have the pain tolerance.
So you've done a lot of things. Whatever you needed to do, you did it. So you probably worn a lot of hats. You've done a lot of jobs. What's the worst job you ever did?
Cutting grass, go to Space Camp.
I actually really enjoyed cutting grass.
Oh, okay.
I don't enjoy it now because I did so much of it for like a decade. Basically, it was
I love cutting grass though. It's
coming
like my
back
favorite
now.
thing in the summer.
He has a postage stamp of a yard.
Yeah.
I do.
Well,
Like,
it's okay.
When you cut grass, it smells good.
There is some certain like
Walking on
what's that?
clean cut grass is just I don't know.
ASMR, like the sound and the
Yeah.
feel and smell and all that stuff. Yeah, I
And
do get it.
and when you can make the nice even rows. Oh,
You sound like my dad. My dad loves cutting
Oh,
grass.
yeah.
And his is like the
Dad.
thickest long. It's like one year we actually ripped it all up just to put new sod in because it like something happened.
Oh,
There was like a little disease going through. He's like, enough of that. Cut it all out. And I feel like the neighbors appreciate it too. They're like, Dennis, great lawn. You know, if there was a contest, he'd be up there with you. I'm sure your
Yeah.
grass is fantastic in the
it
summer.
is.
So
It's amazing. You'll
yeah.
come back in the summertime. I'll show you. We can do this from the patio instead.
yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds wonderful.
So, watching a few of your podcasts, you discuss a lot of health things in your podcasts.
Yeah.
Discuss like what is your health journey? Like, when did you start becoming
Yeah.
somebody that wanted to do triathlons, wanted to be healthy, wanted to do that kind
Um,
of stuff at 6 a.m?
So I've been waking up at 6, unfortunately, for my parents since I was like 3. Like as soon as I
Okay.
could make it through the night, I was just like autopilot up, going. So it's just been how I've been pretty much my entire life. And then playing pretty competitive hockey, lacrosse. I played a pretty high level of like golf for a window there.
Okay.
Just like you had to start to like pick your sport at different points. I played soccer, I guess, too, and I don't
Do you
even
still
know
golf?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so I do that. For a bit, I kind of got out of it though because it was, or it was more like
Because it's not athletic.
not enough. No, it's just no. It's a great sport. Just I guess like time wise, I think was like starting to be like a bit of a thing. And then I played a lot of hockey, and so it's
Okay.
just been deep ingrained since an early age. So between like doing like training in summers, and following different like diet plans, workout routines, stuff like that. It's just kind of always been that way. I know other people have like big hills and valleys. I've had a couple fat years,
Yeah.
Or out of shape years, I should say, whatever. Like, but yeah, it's just
You can say fat.
yeah. Are we allowed to?
Yeah.
that's allowed.
We're allowed to say
We
fat.
beep anything else. You already said a couple of words we're beeping out anyway.
Oh, okay.
So if we want to beep out fats, we'll beep out fat.
And
Fat,
and if I
fat,
keep
fat,
fat,
fat, fat, fat, fat.
If there is, it's funny. I saw that one of the other ones for you guys where it's like there's peeps. I didn't even know what the words were at one point for Tyler. So
I might have bleeped out a random word too.
He does it all the
to have
time.
It
So-
sounds funner.
yeah,
Funner? Is that
Funner
a
or
word?
fun? It's
that's
fun.
more fun.
definitely a word. I
Yes.
use that one.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, on that end of things too. I mean, I've coached hockey for a few seasons over the, after getting out of it, that was a good way to, still participate in the sport and kind of
Yeah.
get back to community that way. But I don't know. It's just always looking for the next challenge because if you don't have something like booked ahead of time, this is something I struggle with. If I don't have like that next race and I just booked it, we'll do a few local triathlons here, but I signed up for my first now like half Ironman out in Calgary this summer. And so you got to have that stuff on the calendar. Otherwise, kind of like, what are you looking forward to in a
Mhm.
way? So, that's kind of just been the mentality the whole way. There's no,
Remind
so-
me, the Ironman. A full Ironman is what?
okay, I don't know what the full,
What
it's
you're
mine-
doing?
Yeah. You know what? I should know this. I think I do, but I don't want to misquote. I know what my race is. So
Yeah, what's yours?
it's just for simplicity here. Like the order is swim, bike, run all the time. Swim is 1.9 kilometers. The bike is 90 kilometers and the run is a half marathon.
Okay, so
Yeah.
tw-
So
13.1 miles. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's where it gets
yeah.
confusing because
Yeah.
I know both of them, but
Right.
yeah,
Full
that's where it is.
Ironman's 140.6.
But
Bike
total
or total,
miles.
yeah. Okay,
So
this is-
2.4 swim, 112-mile bike, and 26-mile run.
Yeah, it's weird because it's not like a perfect doubling or anything. That's
Right.
why I always get it wrong because the half is a 70.
have you done one?
No, I haven't. I've done the Olympic distance, which is like a 1.5K swim, 40K bike, and then a 10K run. And I'm kind of already like training at the level of the swim. Like I do like 2K most mornings.
Yeah.
And so that's what got me thinking when I saw the Calgary one pop up. I was like, oh, okay, I'm already up. If I sign up, then I have
That'd
to.
be a cool one to do too because of
Yeah.
being in that area, right?
Yeah.
Better than here.
Well, it's a little bit more scenic for sure. And then
Yeah.
you're not so far south where I read some of the write-ups. I spent some time in Florida the last 2 winters. And if you look at the local ones there, they rake the ponds before you go, or lakes or whatever,
Yeah.
for gators.
Yeah.
They literally say that on the thing. And I'm like,
What if they miss one?
no. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine? You're in the, I mean, they have some in the ocean too, which is kind of scary with like sharks and stuff. But
Yeah.
gators are nuts. They're the oldest, creepiest things. You
And in
know,
Manitoba, we just have to worry about sturgeon.
yeah, I mean, swimming in lakes freaks me out. Like, don't get me wrong, you're like swimming with goggles on and you're like under the water, and all of a sudden
you
you
can't
feel like,
see anything.
well,
and
but
then-
if you see something, or it's like, oh, like, like there's nothing in there that's gonna eat you, but you're just like, but a gator,
But if they're behind you, you swim faster, right?
You just have to be faster than hopefully the slowest
Right,
one.
exactly.
And I'm
Yeah.
a strong swimmer, so it's
Yeah.
So
I'm not
you're
as
good
worried,
then.
but still freaky. But that would be a reason to stay on the Canada or north of whatever point of doing them.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's,
And Calgary would be fun because you're swimming. Yeah, it's the scenicness, right? Would you go through the mountains at all in that one? Or
that one's not in the mountains. It's just west of Calgary,
Okay.
but it's a little hilly, and I mean, it's very. We'll be able to see the mountains from there, anyways, right? You can
Yeah.
see the mountains from Calgary, so I'm sure, based on looking at the map that I've now printed out and put in my gym.
and it's better than swimming in the Red River. So
Oh God! Well, when they were doing the thing in Paris for the Olympics, I talked to some guy, like I'm kind of pals with, or whatever, the local guy here, and I mean his like puking thing there. I was not surprised, and they were testing the waters. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't.
But
But
they were like,
Yep.
oh, it's like not good today, but tomorrow it's going to be good. And I'm like,
how's that happen?
yeah, that seems sus. I'd love to know, like,
the volume of water that has to exchange in order for it to be better.
yeah, they probably just like dump, or I don't know.
Oh.
I don't want to be quoted on this, but like, a bunch of chlorine, or they just turned off the,
Turn
whatever's
off the
being like,
sewage taps.
yeah. Hey guys, we got to actually turn them off today.
It's like in Chicago.
Yeah.
When they
No
dye-
more pooping in the river.
It's like in Chicago when they dye the whole river green,
Green.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like they dye it clean.
Yeah,
We died.
basically, yeah.
I think we should ask our second question.
Yeah. We would like
Going
to
for a
know
bit, yeah.
Question number 2.
from everybody else that we talked to here.
Wait, are you asking the right question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
If not, we can correct.
Something that people may not know, even the people that know you personally may not know about you, some hidden talent, something that people may not know about you. What is it?
May not know. That's a good question. I think people don't see this from the outside in because of the content. I mean, in general, that people put out. It's always curated or whatever.
Yep.
I fail a lot. Like we failed at other companies that are now no longer exist. And yeah, I mean, I fail a lot in training, people or whatever. I don't like post a lot of that stuff, but I get to see like the little drone shot I take of my bike or whatever. But I mean, like, yeah, I fail a lot more. I think that's an important thing for folks to realize. And it's not maybe captured enough online. I tried doing like little day in the life of Steve just to show that, I don't know, the back end, like, I don't know, not everything's
Now
perfect.
you on the way to the gym.
Yeah. Like, I'm on my way to the pool.
He's
and,
got
like,
his hat product placement done properly.
yeah. Everything's just like,
Yeah,
hey,
type
look at
is
this.
right here.
Yeah. So a little you always got to be marketing.
You
So,
got it, right?
Yeah, but I think, ultimately, this journey is not perfect. I think that's probably I don't know, maybe that's such a blanket statement. We get into some more like in the weeds on that one a little bit, but it's truly, people are like, oh, you're doing all these like great things. And I'm like, oh man, you should have seen it from my lens, last week. Sometimes it's like we had like big failures last week with the brand. We had some like big hiccups. We've also had some really great highs on the journey too, but it's kind of like the stock market on the daily. You find out, one thing has gone good, one, another thing has gone bad. And I compared a lot to the story of I don't know if you guys heard this one, the Chinese farmer.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I might have, but go ahead.
I'll fire it off here. Hopefully I do it justice. There's a Chinese farmer's son. They have a horse. They have radishes or something. And it's it's a Chinese proverb is how this goes down. And one day they're going out. It's just springtime and the horse runs away. All the neighbors come over and they're like, oh my gosh, like your farm's going to go under. You don't have any machinery now. What are you going to do? I mean, Chinese farmer says, we'll see. 2 days later, they're stewing. They're trying to figure out what to do. And the horse runs back with like 5 other wild horses. And they're in the corral. I don't know. Somehow they get them back in there. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, now you have this like powerhouse of, all these horses and stuff. And the Chinese farmer says, we'll see. A couple days go on. Son's breaking in the horses, gets kicked off, breaks his leg. Everyone, oh my gosh, things were just turning around for you, just when you think you've kind of got things going. And he says, we'll see. A couple days later, Chinese military comes on. War is going on somewhere in the world. They're recruiting young men. Son can't go. Got a busted leg. He's no good to anyone on that end of things. So everyone comes around like, man, you're like lucky. This like little thing that's going on here,
Yeah.
And he says, we'll see. That's the end of the story as I know it. Maybe there's more to it. Maybe there's one more verse, but sometimes it feels like that running businesses and in life. And there's always these like highs and lows that a lot of people don't get to see the lows. They get to see the horses running back into the stable.
Right.
They don't get to see, the couple of days of stress you had maybe between that horse running away, metaphorically speaking, or realistically. So it happens all the time, whether it be like the odd time, clients decide not to pay a bill, walk away. That's a serious stressor. People don't see that. A lot of like,
Always get a credit card up front.
try to, yeah. But we always, I always have the good heart. On the other end, we want to help people, and that's really where I think some people, don't always see that from the business end.
Yeah.
They always assume that because you're putting out this, curated stuff online, that everything's like running real smooth and you got it really good. And that's not always the case. We're really early on. The odds of any of this stuff working out is really slim.
Yeah.
It's like a 99% fail rate.
Yeah.
Like you're going against the odds every day running a company, whether it be me or other startups locally here, or even big companies, if they're not like 10 years in and they, even with different things like going public, there's on markets, there's high rate of failure. And
Yeah.
so I think just like going through those, that is something that maybe like people don't get to see, or the emotional journey of, managing those things, figuring out payroll when someone doesn't pay, whatever it is, and you're backing this thing, you got to find a different way to get through it. But I just figure, that tenacity of, I don't know, always figuring a way out to pace for space camp. That's what drives a boat.
We did a whole episode. I think one of the first episodes we did was all about the science of failure.
Yeah.
And even when you try something and it doesn't work, you kind of made your brain think a certain way to go toward that goal. What did something Thomas Edison, I think, is famous for saying, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I found, 10,000 ways in which it doesn't work. Right.
Yep.
And maybe the 11,000th or the 12,000th time, you're going to, start the light bulb, or you're going to invent the light bulb. Right.
100%.
So I asked you what part takes up the most amount of your time, and what takes up your brain space, but what part is your favorite part then that you get to do on a regular basis? Like which part of the company?
Okay,
could you that would be it? That would be what you would want to do 100%.
I don't mean to say this like I got it figured out, but I failed earlier on figuring out the stuff I don't like doing.
Yeah.
Tried handing it off, because when I worked for other companies, I've kind of like been able to grow them and manage people and realize I need to hand off the stuff I don't like doing quickly. So I've gotten better at that. So I'm doing mostly the stuff I like right now.
Okay.
I get to work out in the mornings, and then I go network, or I'm meeting with clients to help them like do this stuff that they're doing. That being said, I think if I could do more of that, or if we could create more content even on our end of things, because in my mind a lot of it is analytics as much as there is like a creative aspect. Just like doing reps in the gym or laps in the pool, it's like, hey, how many times can you do this thing to get better at it? I think people give up way too early on that. And so if I could meet with more people. The other struggle I would say early on in any business that I've started, and some have kept going and some have failed, but you're no one's priority initially. Meeting with banks, meeting people that push off meetings, like you're trying to get in front of them to like pitch something or meet with them, and you're kind of so new. It's like, you haven't existed. You don't have an existing like track record or anything like that. They don't really like know you or know how you are to work with. So whether it be like a bank, an established business, or another startup that is also at a high likelihood of failure, like you're not even a priority to them necessarily. They're kind of focused on their own thing. So I feel like that's a huge challenge, right? Or like figuring out this network. And I think that's why a lot of folks like fail. They just kind of like give up too early. Meanwhile, 3 years in, people have now ingrained, that's a weird number I've had in my mind for starting to get out of the hole of, people remember you, and they're starting to reference back to whatever that thing is that you remembered for.
Like one of the main things that we try to do is get guests on our podcast, right? And scheduling meetings or scheduling interviews and all of that kind of, it has to come together perfectly, right? It has to align. So like for you to come on our podcast, you have to be available at this time because we're both working full time. Right. So I can see how like getting the meetings and getting in front of people and networking, that is the hardest part of everything. Once you get in front of them, then you have to let yourself just do the talking.
Right? And setting all this stuff up it is so time consuming on that end of things. And then you got to find time for you, like don't burn out.
It's like the analogy of the duck, right? Like the duck is on the water. He looks so calm, but underneath he's paddling as hard as he can just to stay going. Right? Like all of those stuff to get the meetings to go. And when you're at that meeting, it looks like everything went smoothly, but there was everything that happened underneath the water that you had to take care of.
Oh yeah, 100%. We just had
You looked at me funny when I said the duck analogy.
Well, I was like, where's it going? I was like, sometimes my brain at the end of the day or whatever is just kind of like fought. That is actually a really thing after the full day of like running and stuff. I'm just like, oh my God, like, there's nothing like, I don't know.
Now I got to go talk to these yahoos.
Yeah. I was just like, Duck, I was like, is this a new one? I got excited. You probably saw the light go on. I'm just like, teach me something new.
Yes. Yeah. And I didn't teach you anything new. But
no, it's good. I like that one though. Well, it's even like behind the scenes right now with the brand specifically. Like we had an email come in from a pretty big retailer there. Well, they're international, but I mean the partnership that we would hope to have with them is national, and their order requirements is like their minimum order for like one item is more than we've sold total items. So very different space. And for the first 3 months of getting emails, I don't want to spoil it until it's like a for sure thing or whatever. I don't know, little voodoo Steve here on that, but it's like we end up
breaking news.
Yeah, breaking. Yeah, type A. We're looking to get in like more retails whenever we can do that. We've done really well at like smaller shops, but like, and that's kind of like the part I know. I just saw one of your guys' episode about like the local thing. It's great, but there's so many more conversations to have. Yeah, and then there's also risk in that. And this is like a pretty big one. There's also risk with this too. Like if they pull back on like a purchase order, then like we have 1,200 units of whatever that now I have to t-shirt cannon out or whatever. And that's just one item. They're probably going to want multiple.
And you don't have a basketball game to t-shirt cannon these out at.
Right. We have to sell them as we're t-shirt cannoning them out to pay off the, 10, 20K, whatever we spent on making the things. Yeah. But, for 3 months, I thought the email was actually spam.
Right.
Or fake.
Okay.
Because I was like, no way.
Question. Yes. You said that you need time to kind of just debrief and get the edge off. What do you do? What are your favorite things to do to kind of chill out and get the stress out? Other than riding your bike.
I know. I was just thinking. I was like, that's gonna be a stupid answer.
Yeah. And swimming.
And I understand that.
No.
Other than
outside
those
of that,
things, what?
Okay, well, one of them's fitness and the other one's like basically partying. But the fitness thing is I built a sauna. Another thing I got bored with during COVID, and I had this plan. And as soon as it hit, like I was like a maniac just doing my company sauna. I built this old truck or rebuilt this thing. But the sauna thing was the coolest for sure. Really cool project. Love going in there and using that. And I'll get away from the health stuff. We can talk like real stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I do really enjoy going out. It's actually, it's a great way to.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Like drink wise?
No, just in general. It could be Lady Gaga. It could be a favorite drink. It could be like what do you do to unwind other than work out?
Yeah, I mean, go with friends. I'm super social. Like I love going out outside of like I literally do that for networking.
Right.
Yeah.
But I love nothing more than also going out and letting loose, like going and having fun at parties. Like one of my a lot of folks that know me would know this, but I love having theme parties. We started a few years ago. And I guess it was before COVID, and then it kind of got cut off for a bit. But just I would get friends together and we'd have like theme parties and stuff. And this isn't like a weekend thing. I'll come back to partying or breweries in general. I love going and checking out breweries. Yeah. So that's like that would be a great way to like unwind. Go there, check out a couple new beers, whatever it is. Live music if it's somewhere like Trans Canada's a cool one there, or like Kilter has live music and stuff.
One Great City.
One Great City.
Yeah.
Yep, have been there. Love their beer too. Yeah. So there's lots of. That would be something I do to unwind. But if it's like a party thing, like the ultra unwinding is like a theme party where I'm like buzzing. We did like turtleneck and name tag, a red plaid party. And then at the red plaid one, and we done, denim on denim, very Canadian. Like the Canadian thing's been deep rooted for a number of years. Like this is not a surprise to people that I probably have brands name this nowadays or whatever. They're just like, oh, Steve A. But it was at the Buffalo plaid one, the red and black plaid party where at King's Head, there's like 40 people there. And people are like, hey, like who's in charge? To like my friends had like pointed at me and I'm like, hey, and people are like, what's this for? And I felt so dumb being like, we just like to party.
Wednesday?
Yeah. Monday night. Yeah. So it was like a theme party and I'm like, okay, well maybe we should, and going back to like seriously like giving back to community. Yeah. The next one that we did was a Santa crawl. And I know that there's like a bigger Santa crawl that goes on, but we just did this one with my friends. Again, we had like 40, 50 people, a couple elves that got cut off at one of the bars. Showed it to my buddies there. But we raised like $1,500.
You want to say their names or?
No, well,
you can rhyme them.
You can rhyme them, yeah.
We usually rhyme names.
Schmark, yeah.
Oh, I like that. I'll leave them blank for now. They're great guys. It was
bad elves.
Really, bad elves. Yeah, they were literally like bad Santa. It was super fun. We went down Corden, Osborne, and along the way, people started being like, "What again? Like, hey, like, what are you guys doing?" We're like, "Oh, we're doing this thing. We're raising money for agape table or whatever for
Yep.
their side, and I volunteered there before over the years, not like consistently. So if anyone's listening, I'm not trying to be fake when I say this. It's on and off.
Yeah.
But with that one, we raised like $1,500 for them
Okay.
through this like group or whatever. It was just like a little thing to give back, and then kind of fall. Actually, that's a lie. I've got back to the theme parties. I did like trailer trash this year with like fake tattoos, a mullet, like fake cigarettes and stuff. My parents got really involved in it too. Yeah, super fun. But
my parents are smoking the real cigarettes. And
yeah,
they're
like,
like,
Oh, they're from that
well, yeah. My mom looked a little too natural. She's just like,
she's like, this is what
He's
I'm
in the
like.
70s.
yeah.
He's younger than us.
Wait, what am I? Oh, yeah. Well,
This
they
was in
could have
the
been
80s,
70s. Yeah.
No, but
90s.
no, but their parents were cool in the 70s.
His
though.
parents would have been cool in the 80s,
70s,
and
80s.
90s.
70s,
Yeah,
80s.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
all-
yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So in other words, you're the extreme extrovert
Yes.
who gains energy
Oh, yeah.
by spending more time with people after you've spent time with people all day.
Yeah.
You're not the unwind with some on Netflix at home on the couch with some Ben and Jerry's, ice cream.
Well, okay. Once in a while, I've forced myself to do it now because otherwise I'm like vibrating. There's consistently throughout time I've noticed that there's like a 3-week max on running in that high
Right.
Yeah.
of only being social, and then I definitely need like a weekend to just mellow out and like chill.
Chill.
And yeah, otherwise being an extrovert, you get energy from that exactly, and then that's not good. You need to recharge the batteries, and over time I've become a little less extroverted in that sense. But you get to figure that out over time. But yeah, I love to go and do theme parties like that. If there's any kind of event that I can go and attend and have fun at, I'm all about it. Yeah.
Okay.
So
We noticed the other day that you posted that you went to the rally.
yes,
You mentioned that you really weren't involved in politics before this, but you're starting to get more active, finding more interest in it. And you did go to the rally, which was on Sunday, the Polyev rally.
Yes.
Tell us about that and tell us why you're having a new interest right before this election in politics.
Okay, well, I got to come clean. It's kind of been deep rooted in our family forever. There's like
You're
Some-
an NDP supporter?
socialist. Anytime we've implemented it, it's not worked out
That's true.
historically. I mean, at the end of the day, if there's a good leader in different parties, they can do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
And you still have to represent the majority of the people, even though there is like a split, without being too politically correct as I say this. But yeah, we were like, as a family unit, there's historical ties actually, like John A. MacDonald. If you look at my uncles, they look like him. It's very odd actually.
Right.
We have like a rich history in Manitoba.
Johnny
terms of
MacDonald
that,
was a
so-
liberal, though, right?
Actually, I don't know what side
No,
of the fence I think
was
he was.
not a liberal.
He was
I'm
not?
pretty certain he was conservative. If he
Correct.
wasn't, he did
Yes.
very conservative
I'm
things.
almost positive you're correct as well.
Yeah.
And I'm a history
So-
major, so I should
Oh,
know.
okay. Well, then hopefully
He
that
is a
is
history
correct. But
major.
it just depends because you could kind of be on one party but be more one-way leaning.
Either
Yep.
way, when
Right.
Johnny MacDonald was around,
Yes,
it was the conservative. It
Yeah.
was right of center for sure.
definitely.
Most people would have been.
Yeah.
Right?
And I mean, like my background is also and then my mother worked in government for a long time and only got a little political at the end of her career,
Right.
more so, but it's always been tied that way. Still helps provincially in that angle. And so it's, with the business mindset coming from an ag background and a hardworking family that's been here for a long time.
By
Yeah,
ag, you mean rural background?
Agriculture. Yeah. So, I mean, that's where I worked like, professionally for about a decade working with farmers. And, you see these hardworking people taking risks every day with, their companies and stuff. And,
Right.
And then, yeah, my dad's family, I mean, they started on a homestead. They're originally from Poland or, Eastern Europe, Europe as a
Yep.
whole. And so anyways, fast forward to today and going to the rally, that's really where the question is at. I think it's just really important nowadays to show up to those things and show support that way. I mean, I'm not making a difference by one person being there. I'm actually kind of involved in helping on the marketing side with some of the federal stuff going on right now.
Okay,
Okay.
well,
So
awesome.
it's kind of it's actually kind of a dream. It's sometimes I have to be like, oh, neat. I manifested this about a year ago.
Yeah.
So that's been really cool. And yeah, I think, I mean, on that note here too, one of the things that sticks out like a sore thumb, regardless of other beliefs, but for Winnipeg, crime is, dictated federally. It's not a provincial thing.
Mhm.
I know people talk about it like it is. I think that's one of the most important points I could really drive home for folks. If, listen to this clip or whatever, it's not in control of anyone provincially here. That is a federal policy. And, time and day in and day out, and we've had family historically on the, the Winnipeg Police Force. We have some, second cousins that are RCMP, hearing their stories over a period of time certainly affects,
Right.
your thoughts and on how that system works. You do something wrong, you should probably not be let out the next day. To repeat and do that again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And then I just told the story recently. Okay. I'll come back to the more of the political stuff, but I was coming out of Pan Am Pool after a swim and the short clip just went up. I forgot I even talked about it. And I'm sitting in the truck. It's still winter, and someone comes up and like smacks the hood of my truck. And I thought it was one of the guys I train with.
Right.
Whatever. I'm sitting there warming up. We're gonna go for coffee right away. And no, it's this guy with a pipe, and he's banging the hood of my truck. And after the second one, I'm kind of like quick reaction. I go back to beer league. Someone hit me, and I hop out of the truck, and I'm like, hey, and then this guy kind of comes at me though, and I'm like, oh. Because I'm like, it's 8:30 in the morning. All this stuff's running through your head real quick. And this guy swings his pipe at me. And I'm like, oh. And I'm like, no. I went and hopped back in the truck. And obviously he was on some form of substance. Very clearly. Very evident.
Yeah.
And then he kind of he's walking towards like Grand Park High School right around the corner. I'm like, oh man, am I going to have to get involved in this like first thing in the morning here? So I pick up the phone, call the cops. They show up like immediately.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds a lot like a repeat offender. And they're like, hey, do you want to press charges? I'm like, no, just get the guy help. Unless me doing that gets him more help.
Right.
I think we really got to look at taking care of, folks locally here, most importantly first on any avenue, and getting them the help that they need. Addiction is very real. I've been around, we have long winters. That cause a lot of depression. If you notice people that don't go on trips, it's very obvious. They're a bit grumpier, but also incredibly happy come springtime.
Right.
We see that. I mean, like the Bruce Oak Recovery Center, there's a few other ones that do exist here. They seem to be doing very good work in those avenues. But I mean, outside of that, I think we need to be stronger as a country. I mean, everything that we represent as a company very subtly suggests we're strong Canadian roots and background with the brand, obviously, and with A being in everything. I think that's kind of a staple. And, without that leading everything that we do as a company and a mission, part of that being giving back and helping folks get awareness and then supporting being active. But the other part of that is like really deep rooted Canadian pride, ultimately. So I've had a Canadian flag in my, bile, not virtue signaling at all. It's been there for a number of years now.
For a while, the Canadian flag was a symbol of hate, though.
Yeah, that's weird to see it kind of come full circle and not be legal.
And now, now the Canadian flag is
very much
back to being the symbol of freedom.
Yeah, that's a weird one to see in some ways.
And we can get into that, which is another whole thing.
Well, that would be a whole bag of words.
But going back to tough on crime, do you believe a right of center party, and we can argue whether the Conservatives are a right of center party, which is another argument.
Yeah.
But are we better off with a Conservative federal government in place to curb that crime? And is that why you were at that rally?
Part of the reason. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, like to show support, and then obviously, like part of it's tied to, some side of our business right now, but kind of being less afraid to talk about it.
Okay.
I think for a while, like I went to one of Pierre's events 3 years ago. He was in Winnipeg.
Yep.
And I remember I posted a photo of me with Pierre and like not canceled, but took some heat on posting that. And I was like, well, everyone can have their own beliefs on that end of things. And that's why we vote for this stuff ultimately. So you don't have to, show hate on that end of things. It's just, we all have the same power in terms of like we each have an individual vote to show up and go do that. And I think fundamentally the core structure of curbing crime, being a stronger country, investing in ourselves. I mean, now I work with a lot of like startups and folks that are just trying to get going. The pain I see going through there, I mean, ultimately
it's tough right now for small business.
It is very tough. And I think some of the new policies and something that Pierre mentioned at the rally there, instead of your classic TFSA, which was implemented by the old Conservative government, there'll be like an additional, I don't know what point this will come in, but an additional cap up that you're able to do where it has to be invested in Canadian companies as far as that goes. And I think thinking more along the lines of that is really important. What's one of the things they tell you when you go on a plane? If this thing goes down, put on your mask before you help others.
Help anybody else,
Take care of home base first. I've been kind of saying that to myself for a number of years with stuff going on in the world. I'm like, yeah, that's crazy, but backyard doesn't look so good right now. And it's off a movie, Limitless. I mean, it was a weird thing. I mean,
Bradley Cooper.
Yes, doing basically Adderall or whatever the drug is, that he was on. And the first thing that he does in that movie is clean his house. weird how that works. The first thing that he did before he went and conquered
Because
the
that's
world.
what he put in place for it. Like that's
Your home base needs to
Yeah.
be clean first. I think that's really
Yeah.
what Canada needs to do. Take care of the stuff here. You know what? I mean, this is just stats that actually were mentioned there too. 50,000 people die of fentanyl.
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks have been affected in Winnipeg by overdoses or
Yeah.
people that they know. That'd be a whole other topic. But folks with addiction and stuff, that's close to home. And it's proven over time too. The safe injection sites actually do not work. It might save the odd person from getting a contractual like disease, or however I said that word.
Yeah.
Stumbled through that one.
Yeah,
Funner.
no,
Funner. There's
that's a funner word, yeah.
but like I've listened to other podcasts and done like listening to folks that are professionals in that space that
Yeah.
suggest several reasons why that's not good.
Right.
You know, for the greater good. It's those policies that are fluffy and seem like they're going to have a difference
Mm-hmm.
are actually maybe not a great idea. It might be a great idea for a small percentage of that subpopulation that's like has that thing. I've
Yeah.
never seen someone shoot up in Winnipeg until this last year. I was walking downtown for a meeting. We do some work with these DJs. They meet at night and stuff. It's like their schedule's crazy. They're really fun.
Yeah.
But it's like they're great people. But yeah, this guy's just like out there ready to roll. And I'm like, also it's -30 out. So whatever this drug is that you've gotten, and it looks like a very clean needle. Great. I'm glad that we funded that. Maybe you should go and get help, you know? And I mean, no
Yeah.
system's perfect. So maybe that guy's
So-
next step is to go get help. But anyway, sorry, I'm going
That's
to
okay.
rant.
No,
I got
it's all
fired
good.
up about it because I think we do need change. And I mean, then we have like,
you see that in
Yeah.
some. We went to Seattle a few months ago, and we saw the same thing. And
Yeah.
I don't want to get too
Yeah.
political. Maybe I do,
Yeah.
but some of
You
these
love getting political.
some of these democratic states and some of these cities like Los Angeles, Seattle, Los Angeles, or Vancouver, sorry, have seen an increased use of drugs in the last X amount of years, in the downtowns going, businesses leaving, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah.
And
Oh,
the argument is,
oh, man. Yeah.
not so tough on crime, and we need our right of center governments so that they curb these things. And that's part of the the argument in that people
100%.
are making, right? So
Well, even look at Osborne Village.
Yeah.
We have a Starbucks left, A&W left, and I guess this is going to be news right away, but the subway's leaving in that area. I don't know when this gets released, but that's actually tomorrow. Signs are coming down.
Yeah.
So we're going to have like a ghost town in there. That doesn't support business. It
Yeah.
also happens to be in the neighborhood right next to the Ledge.
Right.
Like people are going to drive through Osborne. I mean, not
With
that
nothing. Everything boarded up.
like what? Are we serious? Like that should be like priority. Not that we want to be like funding that, but a good way to kind of fund it is just to be harder on crime in that area.
right.
I know
Mhm.
I ended up speaking kind of through the great Winnipeg's a village.
Yeah.
The guy who was in with the A&W there, and I think he wanted to remove the seating, and understandably there's solid rules in place with franchises. You can't do it, but
Yeah.
people are basically parking there for the day and then not leaving.
It's the same with
Making a mess.
bathrooms, right? Like
Yes, and
as
so
a
100%.
restaurant, you have to have public bathrooms because you have seating.
Yeah.
So he probably, if he removed his seating,
Yeah.
he could then remove public access to his bathrooms.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, maybe
So-
it becomes like a walk-up thing. I mean, there's always kind of a way to work around it, but
Yeah.
there's policies for like they can't just probably have a drive-through, right? I mean, like, and how
Yeah.
fun is that? Like you try to
Yeah.
like walking around there, you want to go get a burger, fries, and you do have to use the washroom. So now the majority of folks are taking the short end of the stick on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Meanwhile, for the small percentage of folks, and I mean, like I said, like they rattled off stats out of like BC, and it was something like 60,000 crimes were committed by like, or 40,000, I don't know, whatever it was the number. It was like 60 people.
Right.
It was like an alarming amount of like,
repeat offenders.
yeah. And so it's just really simple, like common sense wise, without, quoting a party on repeated, but it's just like logical. And I think we have to go back to stats and look at numbers, and it's stuff that we look at in, day-to-day stuff, whether I be swimming and checking my heart rate and analyzing how many strokes I take in the pool. When we're doing marketing stuff, how many reps are we doing for putting out shorts? Or if you're a government and your economy sucks, is no one looking at that and being like, hey, red flag,
Right.
we should do something about this? And what is that going to be? To do
Yeah.
that. So it's just like it comes back to numbers at the end of the day.
There's a lot that goes behind the scenes that we don't know about.
Yeah,
And I think that's one of the
Well,
problems. But
Right now, we're in the middle of a whole campaign now federally where
Yeah.
the argument that a lot of people say is what it looks like anyway to the general public is, Trump saying all these things about Canada and he's the bad guy. And the Carney is now raising the Canadian flag and says, if you want to be patriotic, and stand up and be your own country, then you need to vote liberal. And
Yeah.
Pierre is all of a sudden seen as this guy who's conservative. Conservative is bad for some reason, equating to Trump. And we're seeing this whole push that the liberals could get in because people are banding together. Again, the Canadian flag all of a sudden, as Greg said, is all of a sudden a good icon of hope that we all band together. And this is why we can see, we might see that liberal government stay in power for another X amount of years.
Yeah.
So if I were to ask you today, right now, who's winning the election?
Pierre.
You think so?
Yeah. Based on that rally, I think what we see online in terms of like the support on the other side is just not accurate. It was funny actually looking at Vegas for the betting side of things and how like over a short window of more media pushing out from our folks out east, it went from like 70-30 to like 50-50. And I gut feel on that one is just maybe it is drawn bet because of more media presence and a push from that end that is then influencing the Vegas side of things, which seems weird to reference Vegas on this. I just think it's
makes sense.
They're betting, they don't want to lose money on this stuff, but they see a lot of attention going that way. But if you see it, the amount of support that are happening at these events and just like I said, being present, showing up, I think is a good way to represent. I mean, I had other stuff. I didn't have to really be there, but I'm like, you know what? I want to be here and I want to see and feel this energy because I'm seeing one thing online from the party itself. And are they like hyping it up, more than that?
Yeah.
Or is this like real? I was there like an hour ahead of time and it was wrapped. And at one point, I guess I was at the end of the line. But very quickly it was wrapped around the building. They said 3,500 plus. I think it was much closer to 4 than they were saying. I think it was no pun here, but a very conservative number for them to say or whatever. But I would lean that way. I think the momentum, I mean, there's still time where things can change. I'm not, completely in denial that things could happen.
We got a debate coming up. He's not doing a French one. He's only doing an
English
American one and
an American English one.
American English one.
It'll be 25% shorter.
Yeah.
Which we'll have to give 25% to the Americans. That's right. But so I think that's going to be a big deal. And the biggest deal I think is that Quebec and Ontario show up. Yeah. If they don't show up for the election,
well, that's where the population is. They have to. Yeah. I think enough people are frustrated. I mean, even in Ontario side of things.
I talk to people in Ontario all the time and they are frustrated. But for some reason the polls don't reflect it.
Yeah.
Yet.
That's the weird part. I also wonder like around the phone call or whatever, how they're getting the polls.
Right.
Because you can skew data.
Well, and there's a whole thing about this conspiracy about about Carney being affiliated with these polling centers and they're from companies, and I don't know how much I buy into that, but it's I suppose it's possible.
Yeah. Anyway,
no, it could be. So,
do you want to ask some fun questions?
Yeah, let's ask some fun.
Do you want to do this or that?
Let's do this or that.
This or that. Have you seen this or that? You said you've seen if you've only watched their standalones, you wouldn't have seen this or that.
This or that is a game simply as it sounds. You pick either this or that, and the rules are when you pick one of them, the other one goes away forever. And you may not pass. You may not say tie. You have to come up with a choice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So, do you understand the rules? This is.
I think
so.
So there's like basically like 2 words to choose from.
Correct.
Okay.
2 words, 2 items, 2 things.
And we're going to start off right away. Instagram.
Again, one disappears forever.
Yeah, I said that already. Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram.
Pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Favorite topping?
Hawaiian.
Ooh, wow.
That's the first time we've heard Hawaiian.
I think Greg had said that pineapples don't belong on pizza.
I never said that.
I don't have pizza.
I love pineapple on pizza. Right. Okay. You know what's best with pizza is pineapple and banana peppers.
Oh, I was going to say spice. Yeah, if you can do a jalapeno or banana on there.
Yeah, spice. Sweet spice.
Yeah.
And then, a good like buffalo red sauce with, they're good.
I mean, there's a lot of really great pizzas. I could go on about this.
Your favorite place to have pizza? Or your favorite place to get pizza?
Oh, there's so many. Well, Tommy's is good. Red Ember, and then we have Pizzeria Gusto, like high-end pizza in Winnipeg. I'd say that those would be.
Okay.
Tommy's is so good.
Yeah, awesome. Podcasting or merch design? One goes away forever. If you pick one.
Podcasting.
Okay.
Oh wow, you give up merch design. Okay.
And we know you drink coffee. So Tim, Starbucks or McDonald's coffee alone?
McDonald's.
Well, correct answer. Video games. These are all opinions.
That's so
anyway,
funny.
but that's my
These
opinion.
are his opinions.
Video games or Netflix? Well, are both. Yeah.
Netflix. Not much of a video game guy.
Yeah.
Easy one. Yep.
Jets or Bombers?
Jets.
Dragon's Den, or Corner Gas?
Dragon's Den.
I
Mountain.
figured.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm wearing
you
it
could-
like
if
it's
you
on my
could-
chest,
this-
just
this-
like business. Yeah.
This is a side question. If you
Yeah.
could present one idea on Dragon's Den to get approved for $1 million, what would it be?
Doesn't want to give it up right now.
Spoiler. Yeah. I don't know. No, I got a laundry list of stuff I want to do for business wise.
Have you ever applied to be on Dragon's Den?
I was thinking about it, but I'm not sure. And I'm not sure, like, there is, like, depends on the win. I've thought about this a lot, and I've actually had some folks that have been on those shows and really deep dove on. This is a way longer answer than we thought.
Okay, I won't make you answer because
Yeah,
we'd
but-
probably steal it anyway.
Maybe pitch the brand. Like, I don't know if we started going well enough, we could use some help on that side of things.
On the marketing and the...
It's always great to get more help. No, seriously. I mean, those people come with so much more reps, like we were talking before. Like, they so much more depth.
They're connected.
Yeah, networks right away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Would
Could be
you
good.
rather climb a mountain or sit your butt on a beach? No swimming, just sitting on the beach.
when I think of the mountain, I think of it being winter, and I'd rather be hot in the beach. So I do like a good margarita.
Okay.
Let's do beach.
All right.
Final answer. This is. I feel like the clicker's going. You know.
Take a cruise or go to an all-inclusive.
All inclusive.
Have you done both?
No, I don't know how I do on a cruise ship. I've heard mixed. Like, I don't know.
I
do well with
didn't
the
cruise
seas thing.
till
So-
3 years ago because
Yeah.
I was worried about a couple things, and
Mhm.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. We're going every year, so
Maybe I like it too, then.
yeah, you should try it out for sure. Chocolate or chips?
Chocolate.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Of course.
Correct.
I love this.
We
There's
both have our
options.
preferences. Live sporting event or live concerts?
Oh man,
Are you a music guy?
a bit. Yeah, well, I like being social. It's just being out in the energy. So that's like,
Yeah.
and I go to some concerts that I didn't think I would really like.
Yeah.
And then they've been amazing. You know,
Yeah.
different performers have just been like top drawer, and you're like,
Favorite
Was-
concert? What was your favorite concert?
oh gosh.
Who performed?
Well,
Obviously,
I
a
like-
high intensive
um,
performer, I would assume, right? Lots of
Actually, I was in Nashville. It was like a couple years ago, and I saw Kiss.
Oh,
And they were
wow.
like very impressive.
Right.
I wasn't expecting. That was actually one where I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I went there. I'm like, whoa, these guys still kind of have it. Like, it's just like ingrained in them. They're just
rock
going.
and roll, right?
Yeah, that was a surprising one for me, and
Okay.
it was up there for sure.
All right.
But gone to lots of country stuff. I mean, Nashville in general is a whole concert, like the
For
whole
sure.
strip. So
Yep.
So
Strip's
you
awesome.
picked live concerts over sporting
No, he
events.
didn't.
I
He didn't
didn't
pick
say
it.
yes.
Oh.
Sorry. I think maybe sports,
Okay.
playoffs though.
Only playoffs?
They're
Well,
way
the-
more intense.
Well,
like
the whiteout is.
So you don't
Yeah.
support
Electric.
local unless it's the playoffs? Is that
No,
what you're saying?
I still support it. I just know the difference in, like, you know, the intensity just goes through the roof. It feels
Yeah.
like they were kind of playing
Are you old
before.
enough to remember the old Jets in the old barn?
a little.
Okay.
Yes.
That
You would have
that,
been like 6?
that whiteout.
Yes,
yeah.
I had been to some games.
Yeah.
And I had worked. I'd been in the old arena, obviously, with like Moose and stuff when they were here.
Yep.
And even the old like football stadium. Like, I actually like trained there with some guys, and they were doing like hockey, stuff over the years. So I had exposure to the greater Polo Park area in sports when
Yeah.
it used to be there, which is so sweet. It
That was
really
such
cool.
a great setup with the football and the
hockey.
hockey.
Very cool.
Giant parking lots all around the place.
I actually have a pair of seats from that old arena
Awesome.
in my
Nice.
house. Yeah. So
The
Yeah.
old arena was, nothing like as good as this new arena, but the
Yeah.
thing was, it was just one tin box, and the
Yeah.
sound had nowhere to go. So you ended up all the sound just stuck right there. It got you can't get that volume now that you could get back there.
Yeah.
And it was just electric. So I just asked this. Yeah, if you like energy,
yeah.
there was energy there.
Yeah.
And the final question: Coke or Pepsi? Can we
Coke.
diet?
Coke, because it was funny that they used to have cocaine in it, and I think that's hilarious.
Trace-
I'm kind of
I just
indifferent about
watched,
the pop
I just
thing,
watched a
but
documentary. It was a trace amount. People think it was like a quarter cocaine. It
Yeah.
wasn't. It was like a trace amount.
but it's hilarious.
It's still
Yeah.
like cocaine.
Yeah, that's amazing. People are like, "Oh, why do you have like 6 in a day?" Wasn't just the sugar.
Yeah,
You know?
it would have really got
So-
you going.
So we're done the portion of this or that. You had 75%, which is fairly good. We have a
I
couple,
calculated
a couple of
64.
follow-up questions here. 64? Well,
Yeah.
we'll take a look afterwards. A couple of follow-up
Are we not
questions
asking
here.
these two?
These are follow-up questions.
Oh, okay.
These aren't this or that. I guess they are this or that.
They
Well,
are.
I love the mysterious of I can't see. So
We're in the boat. We're in the
You gotta
bonus.
love that you can't see.
These,
Yeah, I know.
These are bonus round questions. Okay.
Here's,
If
this
you
is
could-
where you can get your. These are worth double.
Oh,
they're
what's
the
that?
daily
Yeah,
double. If you have the,
nice.
the
These are
Jeopardy.
double the value from the first questions.
And no
What's
one's
that
ever.
game show that used to like they would do something and be like, okay,
That's
now
Jeopardy.
this no, it was like a fake game show, and he's like, okay, so now these questions are worth double. Oh, whose line is it anyway?
Oh, who's like?
Oh,
Remember, he's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
you're it's
And the
20 to
questions are-
25
Oh, that
to
was so
35.
funny. That was
Yeah.
really good comedy back then. Like
Yeah.
that was solid.
And he would
Yeah.
assign them
That was
different
fantastic.
or different points.
Yeah.
That was a good show.
We're
Yeah.
going to I just remembered we're going to Who's Live in June or whatever.
You're going to that,
Yeah, we're going to that. Yeah. Superhero ability, and no one's ever picked one of them. There always been one of them they pick. So if you're the first, you'll be the first. Would you rather be invisible or be able to fly?
I think this one would be invisible at moments. Yeah.
And you picked that because you knew that no one has picked that.
No,
before.
I hate heights.
No one has ever picked invisibility,
Oh.
and that's his
That's
call.
my favorite.
Oh, interesting.
Every one of our guests have been, including myself, would rather be able to fly, and he just
Interesting.
wants to get into women's change rooms.
That's not it.
I just think once in a while it'd be like neat to be.
Invisible.
Yeah, you could totally.
First
You
one.
can go to anything. Everybody's
Yeah.
like, well, I can
For
fly
free.
there.
He just wants to save
you
money.
could, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
You're a partier, like if you could get into wherever without people knowing and then become visible again.
Well, sometimes you just on that note, you just gotta like walk in as if you've kind of. I mean,
We've done that.
yeah, been in there, or you got to do like the funny thing with you carrying a ladder.
That-
Never done
that's-
that, but I've just seen it.
We
funny.
got
Just
on-
have a paintbrush.
We got on
Yeah.
the court of the Timberwolves just
At
by
Target Center.
pretending like we belonged there.
We just joined a group.
And
Awesome.
we got to take
Yeah.
a shot.
Great.
Yeah. We've
I love
done-
that.
We've done a few things like
Hey
that.
George, who the frig are you?
I mean,
whatever.
If you want to like get into a bar, just say like in the winter here, especially when you have like a coat and stuff, be like, I don't smoke, but if you're like, I just went for a smoke, I still have a tab inside.
Right.
Like, where's your stamp? Be like, well, I don't know. My credit card's inside. They're
Right.
not gonna go check.
Right.
Yeah. Well, because he's not going to leave the door.
Yeah.
Right?
It's pretty bulletproof.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
So now you know how to get back in the bar.
yeah,
If I ever were going to go to a bar,
The
I
spike
would
we're
know
going.
that.
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just not. I'm not a bar guy. I never.
Am
have
I
been.
asking the last question or are you going to steal all of them?
I can steal all of them.
Okay.
If you could travel back in time 100 years or travel into the future
oh,
100 years, which one would you choose?
I think the past. That would be the past.
Why?
Yep. Are we allowed to go long on this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recently found
Yeah, you got time.
a diary from my uncle Howard, who died in the war.
Okay.
By the way, this diary is epic. The war was bad, but he had a good time. And then I was like, okay, this is where I maybe get it from. Parts of this thing. Yeah, I was like howling at it. But I mean, that wouldn't take me back 100 years, but I would be very curious to see how things were back then. Because I think nowadays there's so many nuances to be like, oh, like they've never done it this way. I think we cycle a lot through different things. And the way that we think, I don't think was that different. Just different technologies. I think
Right.
certain patterns still exist. We just have new technology to help us expedite some of those processes of whatever it used to be. So I would be very curious to go back in time and kind of prove that point, right? To like witness how stuff was done. And sometimes the future scares me as much as I'm looking forward to it. Kind of got a bit of a plan. It's like, where are we going next with this one? Even with our
Do you think that time
Stuff.
travelers actually exist
well, I saw a post that said that they do or
on
did.
TikTok?
I don't know where it was. I want to say Instagram. I don't spend as much time on TikTok, but
It was
Okay.
from the future. That was the post was in the
Well,
future.
okay, let's
2026.
like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm not so. I mean, it'd be.
There's
cool
a
if
lot
it
of
did.
people like these TikTok or Instagrams,
Oh,
and they're like
say
saying
that
that they're from the future.
right. Yeah, no, I don't follow those ones, but I think but I know I've seen them. I don't like follow them religiously, but I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about, and it's interesting to consider what that might look like.
If it's
Yeah.
it's possible, obviously it's in the future.
Right.
So they would probably travel back
Yeah.
as opposed to traveling forward. I don't know.
Hard to know because you
Really?
would kind of know what to expect in the past, but what if you got stuck in the future?
Do you
Or
guys
maybe
want-
that's happened. Like,
You want to hear a really weird thought that goes through my head sometimes?
oh yes, invasive
bet-
thoughts.
I bet you everybody thought this. As a child, you thought you were like the only person in the world and like you were being focused on. Did you ever think of that? Like,
In some ways, yeah.
right?
I mean,
Like-
I think
Like the
like-
universe revolved around you?
yeah. But here's the other one I was thinking. What
Oh.
if future me has been interacting with me
oof. Okay.
and I don't know
Yeah.
this?
What if future you was like beside you on a plane one time or something like that?
Yeah.
Or like on a bus.
Like the Adam Project?
Like what if? Yeah, I always kind of keep an eye out for that.
Right?
Or as a kid, I did where it was like
Like when
someone that
people-
kind of looks like me in the future, whatever.
When
Like,
people move into my
yeah.
neighborhood, I'm like, is that future me? Just like living by me to make sure that like
Oh,
current me is okay.
yeah, I'm down with that thought. Yeah,
I-
or like where does space end? That was one that like kept me up for a bit. I
Yeah.
try not to think about that one. Hurts my brain.
I've never thought those things anyway.
You never thought either of those things?
No,
Oh.
you guys are twinsies. And
We just think of fun things.
Yeah.
I guess so. We have 2 questions left. You can ask the last one, which you always do.
Okay.
Second last question, though.
Yeah.
And I'm going to change back to the original format of this question.
I don't like it then.
Yeah, I like. We disagree on how to ask this question. One person, dead or alive, personal, historic, either
Yeah.
way, that you, if you could choose to have one 20-minute conversation with, who would that person be?
This is a good one. Wasn't expecting this one. Wasn't on the list before. This is a gooder.
Yeah.
I think I'd be curious to know about some folks that have had a really crazy big impact in history, but I think more importantly, I really never got to know my mom's dad. So you told me, you warned me about this, but
Yeah.
I knew him when I was like 1 year old or like a year old kid. I'd really like to chat with him. That'd be cool. Yeah. Outside of that,
Okay. That's a good
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One piece of advice that you would give somebody that's going into entrepreneurship these days. What's
Yeah.
one piece of advice you would give them?
well, you're gonna fail a lot, hopefully. Like in theory, like you fail a lot and you'll figure it out, but just keep going. Like I said, like I think people give up way too early on the journey.
Yeah.
And so thinking about that, being more cognizant that you're gonna have these stresses over time. You may not get it right the first time, second time, or third time. I've kind of like dabbled in and out of it. I've worked in corporate America right out of university, and like that was a bit of a struggle at points too about like why am I going to school?
Mhm.
Appease parents, number one. Also, kind of a good idea.
Yeah.
You'd actually like really set things on like a good trajectory. And I
Yeah.
got some amazing training from those companies too. Like they are top notch opportunities. But yeah, take risks and like do it young. Find out if you like it, if you want to do this stuff, and maybe don't. Also, like boring businesses are not a bad idea.
Right.
Like that, I've maybe gone down a route where I'm like maybe that would have been better personally, financially, to do some other stuff
Yeah.
in the journey. But then again, there's the long play on some of the stuff I'm doing has a way bigger upside
Right.
than some of the boring.
You've
stuff.
kind of touched, and I'm just going to add something here that is popping into my brain, but you've kind of touched on the idea without saying the word of perseverance,
Yes.
where people, like you said, people give up too quickly, and they don't have that kind of persevering attitude. Do you think that is a skill that is less and less obtained by some of this next generation that used to be? Do you think there's more perseverance in society today, or less, or like what are your thoughts on that?
Think we think the next generation is not doing it right often, and I think they're doing great. It's just done in a different way. So I have a lot of optimism, although I think some folks could improve on their social skills from what I'm hearing. And I'm even coaching hockey. A lot of kids are like glued to their phone, but
Yeah.
it just depends on how those kids are raised ultimately. What's their environment like. I also grew up, I mean, outside of, we didn't really get down this, but there's lots of entrepreneurs that are folks in business that did live around us. So when they saw me hustling hard, like I had ample job opportunities going through, and I did work for several neighbors over the years, not just cutting grass, but like for their company, because some of that grit and perseverance is not necessarily taught, it's learned over time. And I think if parents are suggesting get their kid working hard earlier on, that would be my take on it. I think there's still lots of opportunity if people are doing that in different ways using technology now, great. But I think having those opportunities of, I worked at a golf course, Safeway, the liquor store, sold shoes at Adidas. I did like a bunch of other odd jobs at like trucking companies, I guess, for a little bit too, working on yards, and I worked on ag, and I worked on farms, and there was a couple that I would like. It's more the managers actually I didn't like in those jobs. I actually often found pleasure, like something I liked about the job one way or the other. So I think there's opportunity for the next generation to be really dialed in and do it better. They might have a way better balance about it too. Like I know, like I was not super social for a lot. Like I worked a lot.
Yeah,
growing up. You're
and
making
it was
up
like,
for it now.
Kind of still work a lot, but yeah, it's like different. Work and play is sometimes the same, almost in a way.
Yeah,
so,
you can mix them.
Yeah, in some ways.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think being very optimistic on the next generation. I think the more we treat that as an opportunity, then they, be like, oh, they're lazy or whatever. Like some of those kids, I know that I'm thinking top of mind stuff. They play video games or they're on their phone too much.
Yeah.
There's some podcasts that I've listened to that talk about this in more detail than I'll do it justice, but they talk about a lot of surgeons having, if they've played video games at different levels, they're like extra skilled at now all the, what's it called, orthopedic?
Dexterity?
Or what's the, where you like go in through a hole and you like
Oh,
crawl
right.
up someone's leg. I'm not orthopedic. There's
I'm struggling with that too.
Orthoscopic?
that's the one. Yeah.
Orthoscopic?
Ortho something.
It's something scopic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like so they're going with like scopes and stuff and like, so grandma
Because they
grandpa are
can
gonna
control it with their
100, and they have like they're going through like a screen or whatever themselves, and they're able to do that. So tech's moving pretty cool, where you don't have to cut someone up anymore. And are we going to be upset that grandma, grandpa, or parents or whatever one day need surgery from some kid?
Right.
Yeah.
Although that's a scary thing, getting older when your doctor's like younger than you. I had that the other day.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. That's how you're getting like a little older or whatever. But I have faith, but there's still like lessons to be learned from those. I mean, there's always something to be learned either way. That's why talking to old people is one of my favorite things.
Right.
Like that's why you came on our
No,
podcast.
yeah. Oh my God. No.
We should wrap it up
Yeah.
here. We've really enjoyed our talk with you. It's been great. Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
I want to give you a quick second though to say where you can get all of your different things. So
yes.
Marketing, where can they find your marketing?
A marketing company. A marketing company. EHmarketingcompany.com.
Yep.
The podcast, A Podcast Canada, or apodcast.com for the website. But yeah, find us out there, and then type A shop.
Again, all with
the
EH.
merch. Yeah, if you Google EH, there's a high chance that our SEO is dominating on those avenues there. So,
and we have them linked below, so anybody can click on the links below and they can check it all out and everything too for you.
Much appreciated, guys.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for watching the Greg and Tim Show. Once again, Tim, thanks for joining me today too.
And thank you for joining me as well. As it were, per se.
Have a great one, and we'll see you all again next week.
See you later.
Bye.
Thanks for watching the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Sharing is caring.